Hi, I'm Tariq Melrose, and after watching today's press event, I'm convinced they've replaced straight answers with performance art. The props were real, the emotion was rehearsed, but the substance? Missing in action. I'm here to put it back. Subscribe now, because understanding the script is the first step to rewriting it. Ted Cruz threw a tantrum, Amy Klobuchar threw facts, and once again, MAGA spin collapsed under real Democratic accountability. Welcome to Tariq Melrose Vlogs, where we call out GOP gaslighting, dismantle Trump's propaganda, and defend democracy one Senate hearing at a...
We just heard the senator from Rhode Island talk about the imperative of protecting judges. And yet not a single Democrat senator cared about the violent protesters that showed up outside Supreme Court justices' homes, including, I might note, female justices like Justice Amy Coney Barrett, threatening their family, and Joe Biden's attorney general didn't do a damn thing and refused to enforce the law to protect those judges. Why? Because he agreed with the violent protesters and he wanted to intimidate and threaten those judges. Professor Bray, under our Constitution, who should decide elections, the voters or unelected judges?
The voters are the ones who should vote in the election according to the laws, and the laws sometimes have to be applied by the judges if there are cases.
And under our Constitution, who is charged with making policy decisions? Elected representatives elected by the people or unelected federal judges?
I think the question of policy, Senator, is a little broader than a particular case. So the laws should be enacted by Congress. That's where the fountain of law.
Policy decisions are the elected branches.
Right.
Law is the province of the court. Policy is the province of the elected branches. These are not complicated. Professor Bray, let me ask you this. Do the federal courts have power to issue remedies for people who are not parties to a case?
That's a question I agree is not complicated. They do not have that power.
Is the phrase nationwide injunction or universal injunction found anywhere in the Constitution?
It is not.
First chart. In the first 150 years of our republic, how many nationwide injunctions were issued?
My view is that there were not any until 1963.
0. Now fast forward. How many nationwide injunctions were issued in the entire 20th century?
It's a small number. I would think it would be a dozen, give or take. It's not large.
27, actually. Excluding Trump's first term, how many nationwide injunctions were issued in the last 20 years?
Far more than that.
32. From 2001 to 2024 against Biden, Obama, and Bush, 32. And how many nationwide injunctions have been issued in the last 2 months alone?
There have been quite a few.
37. Let that sink in. There have been more nationwide injunctions in the past 2 months against President Trump than in the entire 20th century. There have been more nationwide injunctions against President Trump in the last 2 months than both terms of George W. Bush, both terms of Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's term. We saw during the Biden presidency lawfare, indicting President Trump 4 times, using the machinery of justice to attack him, and that was an attack on democracy. Because Democrats today hate democracy. Democrats today are angry at the voters for re-electing Donald Trump and electing a Republican Senate and a Republican House, and they engaged in lawfare to stop democracy from operating. Understand, this is the second phase of lawfare, second chart. This is the second phase of lawfare. Now that their efforts to indict President Trump and stop the voters from re-electing him have failed, they're going and seeking out individual radical judges to try to shut down policies, and they are forum shopping like crazy. Give me any loon judge put on the bench by Obama or Biden who disagrees with a policy. We just saw a judge flagrantly ignore U.S. immigration law concerning TPS being revoked. U.S. law explicitly said there's no judicial review for that, but hey, they found a judge who says, you know what? We, the Democrat Party, we are the party of illegal aliens. We are the party of murderers and rapists and gang members, and the Democrat Party exists here to fight to keep murderers and rapists and gang members in your communities. There's a reason the Democrat Party is at 26% approval nationwide, because they put radical policies ahead of rule of law. Nationwide injunctions are an abuse of power. It is the judiciary acting as policy deciders, and it is incumbent on this committee and this body to rein in the abuse of power from these unelected radical judges who are trying to overturn the election because they disagree with what the voters decided.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Klobuchar.
Okay, that was a lot. Let me start with a few things. Number one, we love the democracy, and I believe what we should be having is a civil debate about how we can best, if Donald Trump wants to make changes to the government, we should be doing it in a legal way, not how he's doing it. And the only reason there's all these injunctions, Senator Cruz, is because he's violating the Constitution. Why would Trump-appointed judges...
Why don't you file them in red districts?
Senator Cruz.
Why... What did you just say?
Why don't you file them in red
Cruz,
districts?
point
Why
of
are the
order.
Democrat attorney
Senator Cruz.
general seeking out
Senator Cruz.
left-wing
my
blue
esteemed
single
colleague.
Quite patient with
One
Senator
second.
Cruz's activity
Yeah.
in this building.
Senator
I think
Whitehouse.
He's entitled to.
I'm just going to ask for a point of order. Madam Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar.
Senator Moody, we have debates on this committee. They occur regularly.
Let's let her have her time, and then we'll get back to that. If you
it
want to
is-
wait, we'll get back to you, Senator
She's
Cruz.
welcome to
Senator
answer the
Klobuchar,
question or
go
not.
ahead.
It's her choice.
Go
I'm
ahead.
so
and I would
excited
encourage
to
you
be
to answer.
following Senator Cruz once again.
Excuse me?
But I will say
Excuse
this.
me? I didn't hear you. What did you say?
To be following him. He and I have a
I was
long-standing-
permitting you your time to continue. To be following him in order.
And I
Excuse
have
me.
a
Go ahead, Senator
long-standing
Klobuchar.
debate during hearing.
Go ahead,
That's
Senator
what I'm
Klobuchar.
referring to.
Go ahead.
And I will take more than my time, since he's taken more than his time to yell at me.
Go
So
ahead.
what I
I'll
will
mark the
say
time.
is that
I'm not yelling. I asked a question.
Senator Cruz, please. I'll give you time. Senator Klobuchar, I've got the time, and you'll be allotted
I
the time.
am making the strong case that the reason all these cases have been filed, and the reason that these judges who have been appointed by Ronald Reagan, yes, they still exist, and the Bushes and Donald Trump, judges appointed by Donald Trump, have been making these decisions is because this is not legal. Donald Trump himself has used his social media account, the White House account, to post an image of himself wearing a crown saying, "Long live the king." The issue is that we do not live in a kingdom, and Elon Musk is not his court jester. Ours is a nation of laws in which no one is above the law. That is why 39 different judges from vastly different backgrounds, appointed by 5 different presidents, have made clear that these are illegal actions. And these judges have rightly blocked these actions. And it is important that we not lose sight of the underlying cause of these injunctions. It is not that these judges are crooked or lunatics or evil. Those are words used by the president and his allies. It is because the administration is violating the Constitution. What happens when they use these kinds of words? You see more and more threats against judges. And that is what we're seeing. That is why federal judges and the U.S. Marshals, who are responsible for protecting them, are sounding the alarm about a spike in threats against judges. This is serious. And unlike what Senator Cruz said, I'm remembering when the threat was made, the horrific threats, and the man was in Justice Kavanaugh's on his neighborhood, on his street. On a bipartisan basis, we came together and got more funding for the judges and changed things so that they had more protection. So what he said was completely untrue in terms of Democrats and Republicans decrying violence. We didn't just decry the violence, we actually did something about it in response to a court that is run by Justice Roberts, who is a Republican appointee. So I think that kind of language actually makes the situation worse when it's not even true. But unfortunately, Senator Cruz left, so he did not hear my response to what was a lie. President Trump's attacks on these judges has made for some major risks for the judges. I would ask you, Mr. Panuccio, and not in a partisan way, just normal, as a partner in a law firm, have you ever taken to social media to personally attack a judge who ruled against you? That's all my question is.
Senator, thanks for the question. I think that attacking judges personally and not their reasoning, well, let me just give you a quote. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price.
I've asked
you. Want to know, you won't know what hit you if you go forward with those awful decisions. That was what Senator Schumer said, and I thought it was awful, and it unleashed a wave of violent threats against Supreme Court justices. I do think problematic, that kind of language.
I have no doubt the language is a problem on the left or right. I was just asking you if you have ever personally attacked a judge after you disagreed with the ruling. I'm asking you.
I have
if
not.
You did it. Thank you. And you believe that the proper recourse is to appeal when you disagree with the ruling.
When I disagree with a ruling on behalf of a client, I appeal.
Thank you. That was all I wanted. I was not going to criticize you. I believed that you would not have done this. And so that is my point. When people do this, and right now we have not just a random person on social media doing it, we have the President of the United States doing it. And I would just ask you, Professor Vladeck, in your opinion, are the judges who ruled against the president radical and rogue judges?
No. And just if I might, even though he has also left the room, Senator Schmidt suggested it was statistically impossible that Chief Judge Boasberg has been assigned to multiple cases in the D.C. District Court. I think that rhetoric is highly inflammatory, in addition to being mathematically incorrect. There are 31 different cases in the D.C. District Court alone in which D.C. district judges have ruled against the administration. There are 11 or 12 active district judges. The notion that one of those judges would have multiple of those cases is not statistically impossible. It's statistically certain.
And if the president does not want to have judge rule against him, isn't the answer that he just follows the law?
One would think, but I think we live in a bit of an upside-down world at the moment.
Okay, so this hearing was titled in a very academic fashion, Universal Injunctions. And we can make it all academic if we want. Clearly we haven't with Senator Cruz's remarks. But I just want to make the point that this has a real consequence, that these cases that are coming before these judges. This is outside of their decision, which is based on the law and the facts. Sometimes they've ruled with the president, sometimes they've ruled against the president. But just to get it so people understand this isn't just some academic exercise about injunctions and if they're a good thing to have legally. Last month, a federal judge blocked the administration's plan to slash NIH funding for medical research. Could you talk about the impact if the judge had not been able to issue a nationwide injunction?
Sure. So Senator, briefly, because I know our time is limited, NIH hands out thousands and thousands and thousands of grants. If you required the recipients of each grant to litigate the rescission of each of those grants on a retail basis, you would have gaps in cancer research. You'd have gaps in all kinds of, work by the National Institutes of Health, because it's not possible. Thousands of the mass action by the government could be challenged on a retail basis in federal courts.
Thank you so much. And
Could I get a second round
Senator
of questions?
Klobuchar, I allowed you to way over your time in order to make up, and I wrote it down.
Round?
No, ma'am. I just wanted to let you know that I did give you extra time and over what was taken up.
The
So thank you
practice of
so
it-
much. I appreciate it.
Okay, a lot of times when senators are still here and there is no one else here, they let them have a second round.
Absolutely. I'd just like one moment to ask about an issue that
Okay,
came
well, you
up
should, yes.
that is regarding TROs and
Welcome back to Tariq Melrose Vlogs, where we cut through GOP theatrics, MAGA disinformation, and the never-ending tantrums of Ted Cruz and company, so you don't have to. If you've ever needed a real-time demonstration of why the Republican Party can no longer be trusted to govern, look no further than the complete chaos that unfolded in the Senate hearing this week. Senator Ted Cruz, armed with charts, right-wing rage, and the tired old talking points about lawfare and radical judges, tried to hijack a legal hearing into yet another Trump pity party. And let me tell you, it backfired spectacularly. Cruz came in hot with his performative outrage and predictable culture war rhetoric. He whined that Democratic senators didn't care about protests outside Justice Barrett's home, claimed Biden's attorney general refused to enforce the law, and even accused the DOJ of siding with violent protesters. All while pretending to defend democracy, of course, because that's the new GOP strategy. Label any attempt at legal accountability as an attack on democracy, even if it's literally the courts doing their job. Let's be clear, no one wants political violence. Not the left, not the center, not Democrats. But Cruz doesn't care about actual threats. He only cares when the narrative helps Trump. he conveniently forgot that it was Democrats who passed bipartisan legislation to protect justices after the Kavanaugh incident. He forgot or ignored the fact that it was Trump who posted images of himself wearing a crown, essentially declaring himself king. And let's not forget the deafening GOP silence when Trump supporters stormed the Capitol and called for Mike Pence's execution. Spare us the lectures on civility. Then Cruz tried to play professor. He grilled legal experts about nationwide injunctions, trying to prove that judges issuing them are somehow staging a coup against Trump. He rolled out charts claiming that more injunctions have been issued against Trump than any other president. And yeah, because Trump has done more illegal things than any other president in living memory. That's not bias, that's cause and effect. You break the law, the courts stop you. Welcome to America. Cruz, of course, ignored the fact that many of those injunctions were issued by judges appointed by Reagan, both Bushes, and yes, Trump himself. That kind of inconvenient truth doesn't fit neatly on his Fox News talking points board. So instead, he launched into an unhinged rant, accusing the Democratic Party of being the party of illegal aliens, of murderers and rapists, and claimed that Democrats are at 26% approval nationwide because they put radical policies ahead of the rule of law. I mean, what even is that? Projection, gaslighting, straight up hate speech? Probably all three. But the best part of this whole mess was what happened next. Senator Amy Klobuchar, calm, composed, and devastatingly sharp, responded not with more noise, but with facts. She reminded the committee that the reason there are so many injunctions against Trump is simple. His policies keep violating the Constitution. Period. Full stop. She reminded Cruz, though he had already stormed out of the room like a sulking child, that judges across the political spectrum, from 5 different presidential administrations, have ruled against Trump. Not because they're radicals, not because they're out to get him, but because the law is clear. And in this country, no one, not even a wannabe dictator with a gold toilet, is above the law. Klobuchar then addressed the elephant in the room, Trump's attacks on judges, not just critiques of legal reasoning, personal, targeted attacks that endanger lives. She spoke about the chilling rise in threats against federal judges, a direct consequence of Trump's social media meltdowns and the MAGA cult's weaponized propaganda. These are not abstract consequences. These are real people with families facing real danger because one man cannot accept that the law applies to him too. And when Klobuchar asked the witnesses a simple question, have you ever, in your legal career, attacked a judge personally just because they ruled against you? They said what every sane person would say, no, that's not how this works. You appeal, you don't threaten, you don't post their addresses online, you don't scream about radical judges on Truth Social while your followers sharpen pitchforks. Let's be honest here. Ted Cruz isn't dumb. He knows how the law works. He knows Trump lost more than 60 court cases after the 2020 election, and that many of those rulings came from Trump-appointed judges. But like most of today's GOP, Cruz is more interested in performative outrage than public service. His job isn't to legislate, it's to entertain the Fox News base, raise money off MAGA lies, and create enough chaos to distract from the fact that the Republican Party has no policy platform beyond whatever Trump wants. Senator Klobuchar's final remarks were a reminder of what real leadership looks like. She acknowledged that injunctions are a serious legal tool and should be used carefully, but she also reminded the chamber that they serve a purpose. For example, when the Trump administration tried to slash NIH research funding, a nationwide injunction prevented devastating gaps in medical research, cancer trials, life-saving drug development, public health. These are not academic footnotes, they're real-world consequences. And yes, sometimes nationwide injunctions are the only way to stop sweeping illegal policies from harming thousands of people. The truth is, what we saw in that hearing was a microcosm of everything wrong with today's Republican Party. The obsession with victimhood, the endless grievance politics, the gaslighting, the lies,
the refusal to take responsibility. Cruz didn't walk out because he was silenced. He walked out because he couldn't handle being confronted by reality. Because when the facts show up, MAGA runs. And here's the kicker. While Cruz screams about lawfare and accuses Democrats of hating democracy, Trump is out here demanding loyalty oaths, promising revenge prosecutions, and openly fantasizing about being king. Who's attacking democracy again? Tariq Melrose. Vlogs exists to shine a light on this kind of hypocrisy. We're not here to play nice with people trying to burn down the rule of law. We're here to fight back with facts, with clarity, and with the kind of moral courage that Ted Cruz wouldn't recognize if it sat next to him in a Senate hearing and handed him a copy of the Constitution. If you're tired of the lies, tired of the circus, tired of watching democracy get dragged through the mud by spineless opportunists, this is your space. We don't just react, we expose, we push back, we organize, and we don't back down. Thanks for watching. If you believe in the truth, in accountability, and in a democracy that works for everyone, not just billionaires and MAGA grifters, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and share this video. Let's keep building this movement. This has been Tariq Melrose, and you've been watching Tariq Melrose Vlogs, where we don't just call out the bull, we bury it in evidence. Stay loud, stay proud, and stay tuned.